Uh, we are live, Prof. Kamdar.
Sure.
Hello, students. Welcome to the webinar of Career 360. You know, quite a few questions that we had were always about liberal arts, and we always used to wonder how do we respond back to the questions. And India being, India starting its entire education revolution with sciences and so on and so forth. Liberal arts is always, shrouded in mystery in terms of what does liberal arts mean. And quite a few of the questions we felt, and by the way, liberal arts as a domain also has been really deepening itself, in the Indian context, because quite a few very, very good universities have come in the last few years. Flame University, Ashoka University being two of them. So I thought the best way that we respond back to the students in terms of what exactly are the prospects, the career path, and the future of liberal arts is, I thought we should call someone who's been involved with a liberal arts university, so to say, and also has been on the other side in terms of management and sciences, and which is where we felt that Professor Dishan Kamdar and Dr. Santosh Kurtarkar, both working at Flame University, should be able to respond back, answer, handhold, guide, and advise each of you students for some of the questions that you might have on liberal arts and the courses that they offer. So let me introduce the two guests that we have today. Professor Dishan Kamdar. He's a Vice Chancellor of Flame University, but much before that, he was with ISB. He was the Deputy Dean, Academic Programs and Professor of Organizational Behavior at the Indian School of Business. He obviously published a lot of papers in refereed journals, and he's also the coach to CEOs of renowned corporates and family businesses in India. And he's also supposed to be a favorite professor to all his students. Professor Dr. Santosh Kumar Kurtarkar, he holds a master's in physics from IIT Madras and a PhD from the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Math Science, in Chennai. A theoretical physicist by training, his research interests are in application of field theory in high energy and condensed matter physics. Dr. Santosh would also, by the way, Dr. Santosh's video is not working because we wanted to save on the bandwidth, so you will be able to hear him as and when he responds back to it. Welcome to the two of you, sirs.
Sure, pleasure to be here.
Professor Kamdar, can you first tell the student what does liberal arts mean? Because this is a fundamental question that keeps coming up of what does India seeing STEM courses on one side. What does a liberal arts university mean? What does it imply? What does it include? What does it exclude?
Sure. I think that's a great question to start off with, because there's a lot of confusion with parents and students with respect to liberal arts. I bet you, as you walk out the door, you ask 10 different people, what is liberal arts? You get 10 different answers, right? I've heard, parents talking to me, right, describing liberal arts as, yes, something to do with arts or dance or music or painting, henceforth should be kind of last option for my child. I've also heard parents saying liberal arts, it has to be a course that is liberal, is easy. Henceforth, if I don't want my children to do math, I probably straitjacket them into a liberal arts education program. And then you have some parents talking about, oh, liberal means it has got to do with, the left wing or the right wing, blah, 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 right? So I think we need to clear, this confusion out here, right? Liberal arts basically is an education system that provides a holistic education and development to a student, right? Or what do I mean by that? The traditional education system, the conventional education system, right? Whatever you specialize in, you get straitjacketed right from year one. So let's say an engineering student, right? When you opt for engineering, you do engineering courses year 1, year 2, year 3, whatever till you graduate, right? You take medicine, whatever it is, you get straitjacketed with the hope of developing very deep level functional expertise, right? Either technical expertise, professional expertise, or vocational expertise, right? That's the conventional rule of education. Now, in liberal arts, what we do differently is we allow you to explore and then you major, right? So it is as rigorous as any other program. In fact, it could be much more rigorous than other conventional programs. But rather than focusing on honing a student's IQ only. We are focusing on a holistic development of the student. So a student pursuing liberal arts education in a liberal arts university essentially, opts from a plethora of options given to them. So they major in either, humanities, social sciences, mathematics, economics. We'll talk about that variety of options later on. But while they pursue that major, they are also taking many other courses that are offered in other disciplines. Now, what would that do to the child, right? So it basically expands their horizons, allow them to view problems from multiple perspectives, allow the child to connect the dots, right? And the central tenet of a liberal arts education has its roots to effective communication skills, both written and oral, critical thinking, complex problem solving, ethics, philosophy, right? Those are central tenets that every child is expected to undertake in a liberal arts program. So in a summary, if you choose liberal arts as your option, what you have to do is foundation courses in your year one, irrespective to your major. So you could be majoring in computer science, you could be majoring in sociology, psychology, whatever you choose from the gamut of options that a liberal arts college offers you. But the foundation courses allows you to hone transferable skills, which will prepare you for multiple jobs, right? So typically, a graduate, irrespective to his or her major, when he or she graduates from a liberal arts program, you are generally, compared to your other peer group, you are generally more creative. You are able to solve complex problem. You are a critical thinker because of the curriculum that we provide you, right? You're a great communicator. You are able to make sense of the world around you. So rather than honing your IQ only, right, a liberal arts program, while you pursue your functional expertise, we ensure that we hone your EQ as well, your spiritual quotient as well, your aesthetic quotient as well, your cultural quotient. We ensure that the child is sensitive about his or her environment, sensitive about cultural issues, social issues. You develop a mindset of public service, right? So bottom line, right? We focus on holistic development while you pursue your functional expertise. That is in a nutshell. That's the summary of a liberal arts program.
It's very interesting. You said certain things about computer science, mathematics, and physical sciences, sir. And when I was looking at the curriculum of Flame, also you actually have something on physical and natural sciences.
Right.
The thought or thinking among students is that liberal arts doesn't have anything to do with sciences. It's very, very far away from sciences.
Right.
And then I see Dr. Santosh, who's a mathematician, so to say. I simply can't read out your resume also, Dr. Santosh. So because you've done so much in mathematics, and then Professor Kamdar, you worked in management. You worked in ISB and taught management, which is supposed to be a debate of whether it's an arts or a science. So right. Where does this go in terms of a liberal arts program, along with sciences, which is physical, natural sciences, and computation sciences also?
Santosh, would you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I'm sure. So, there is a common misconception in the country, right? And because our educational system we have borrowed it from the British, and in Britain, there is nothing called a liberal arts. So there are liberal arts disciplines, which are essentially your social sciences and humanities. The liberal arts that we talk about comes mainly, in the contemporary era, is inspired from the education that's provided mainly in the United States of America and nowhere else. Okay, so the disciplines, that people are trying to, juggle between these two, different ideas. That on the one hand, you have liberal artsy disciplines, which they think are liberal artsy, and on the other hand, what are essentially STEM disciplines, which are hard disciplines. They are totally mutually exclusive and completely different from liberal arts. There is nothing far from the truth that these two can't be mixed together, right? So we can be an engineering, provide engineering education, but with a very strong framework in the liberal arts. As Dr. Kamdar said, liberal arts just doesn't mean that you're pursuing a certain discipline, but it's also about other critical skills, right? It's about, effective thinking. It is about effective communication. It is about leadership qualities. It is about, having a sense of purpose in life. And being very productive citizens of society, right? If you're an engineer, you can still pursue a liberal arts program and yet do engineering. Most US universities have a liberal arts, are based on the liberal arts framework. So when in a US university, somebody were to go to a US university to pursue, let's say, computer science in MIT, they'll demand that there is a general education requirement that's fulfilled. What is
Santosh, I think you're breaking. Dr. Dishan, can you take over?
Yes. Yeah. Santosh, you're back?
Yeah, I mean, so I think you just answer, I'll go to a different location and figure it out.
No, sure. So,
yeah, I think so.
So basically, they are not mutually exclusive. And it's a myth that we want to demystify, right? So when you talk about management education, for example, if you actually dive deep into management education, it's nothing but advanced humanities or advanced social sciences, isn't it? I mean, I'll take my own example. Yeah. I teach negotiations, right, to corporates, to my students, how do I teach negotiations? I borrow from psychology, I borrow from sociology, I borrow from philosophy, ethics, right, and I borrow from economics. So, I don't think there's an argument to probably dissociate management education, STEM education, humanities, social sciences. I think they're all interrelated.
Dr. Kamdar, again, coming back to Flame University, why did India not have great liberal arts universities? Not in the public sector, I'm talking about the private sector now. Because private sector, every university was a science university, a STEM university, a mathematics university, and so on and so forth. But or even a management university, the IIMs, IITs, IISERs, everything. Why is it that none in the private side of education ever thought of a liberal arts university till about 10-15 years back?
Well, this is a question that I've been toying around with as well. When we look at the pre-British era of education in India, I think we gifted the entire world, right, the education of liberal arts. We introduced liberal arts education with Jalanda, Takshila. That was the origin of Indian education, right? With the 64 kalas. I don't want to get into the details, right? But that created the Chandragupta of the world, the Aryabhatas of the world, and they changed the entire worldview about multiple issues. Great scholars. But then we have this British era coming in, right? And during the British era, you know what happened, right? So pure compartmentalization of technical education, vocational education, and then you have post-independence era. But somehow we continued what the Britishers left behind in our education. This is one part of the argument in my perspective. But at the same time, if we look at the history, if you look back 30 years ago, we had this BPO boom, right? The IT boom 20-25 years back. So a lot of jobs have been created in the United States, and you and I, we both know about the American dreams. Probably we pursued some of those as well, right? So a lot of jobs being opening up in US, fat-paying jobs. So lots of students in India wanted to pursue engineering at that time. Let's say 25 years ago. Lots of coaching classes mushroomed, and lots of engineering colleges were set up. Why? Because the demand was there for engineering. And why engineering? Because it's a ticket to the American dream, right? So the middle class and the upper middle class in India benefited enormously, right, from chasing the American dreams. Now, these guys gone to America, got great jobs. And in fact, it was a matter of, family repute as well. If I have someone in my family working in a tech company in US, I have my collar up. And also, I shouldn't be saying this, but also, manageable opportunities as well, right?
Yeah.
So, right, we know that. So we had seen that era a decade. And then, this engineers, computer science engineers, and engineers going to US, they were there for 10 years. And then they realized that, our careers have plateaued. our careers have plateaued. Now we want to get into the top leadership position. Now, how do we do that? Lo and behold, there was a new prescription, IT with MBA, right? And then, with IT and MBA, we have seen enough examples of our Indian, students pursuing MBA education overseas or within India, and they got a ticket into senior management position. So from the mushrooming of engineering as an ROI, then you got, the next era of mushrooming of MBA schools, right, all over the world, right? That happened for a decade. And, end of the day, business, it's a value proposition. What would students want? So universities would offer programs that are in demand. And the last 20 years, we've seen demand in IT, we've seen demand in business education for these reasons. And then what happened? So, and then I think things plateaued off. There was a slowdown in US. The locals in United States, were lobbying the government to ensure that, the locals will get better jobs, will get more jobs than the Indians or the foreigners, right, in India. So there was then this visa restrictions. And when that happened, we have seen a disruption coming in this time and age. If you look at today's world, right, the word VUCA, we all know what VUCA is, right? It's very volatile, it's disruptive. So the functional expertise today that you acquire may be obsolete in 3 months, maybe obsolete in 3 years. Now, this is the time and age we are in. So if you look at the life cycle, engineering, business, right? Now, so 10 years ago, when you was a recruiter, when you interview someone, what is the first thing that you want? They will say deep functional expertise. Uske baad kya chahiye? They will say then your ability to work in teams, then good communicator, da, da, da. So transferable skills were second order in the packing, right? Today, when you meet recruiters, the first thing they will say is, I don't care about functional skills. I want transferable skills. I want a creative person. I want a person who works in teams. I want a person who can solve complex problems. And henceforth, we see this sudden demand or resurgence in liberal arts education in India. Okay. I mean, that's my view at least.
No, fair enough. If you were to just drill it down to a student, sir, if I'm a commerce student, what are the courses of liberal arts that you would have? If I'm a science student, what does it have? And if I'm an art student now at a 10+2 level, what is it? Commerce, science, and arts. That is the 3 broad spectrums that you have. Right. So the questions that keep coming to me is saying, sir, I'm a commerce student. Can I do liberal arts? Someone says science and someone says arts. And all these 3 questions are similar in nature. So you can drill it down to a basic level of what are the kind of courses they must choose if they're an art student, commerce student, and a science student.
All right, so I'll let my dean answer this question and then I'll chime in. Santosh?
Yeah, sure. Santosh, your mic is unmuted.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're...
No, I just got disconnected and I'm back.
Yeah. Sure.
So the liberal arts, the big plus of liberal arts is that it's background agnostic. Okay, so you may be a commerce student, may have been a art student in your +12, but it doesn't matter because liberal at that stage in life, liberal arts is when you are trying to explore multiple disciplines when you are 18 or 19, you would approach it quite differently from when you are doing it when you are 11 or 12, right? There's a certain intellectual maturity that you bring in just because of the biological age that you have achieved over the years, right? So there is as far as flame is concerned, we are agnostic as far as your backgrounds are concerned, except we look at critical skills that you need to have, and that's what every liberal arts university in the world looks at. That you have to be curious, you have to you need to have a certain thirst for knowledge and to learn more and more. You need to be an effective communicator. At least you can't be an introvert and be a liberal arts student. That doesn't work that way, right? Then when you explore, you make an informed choice. In the US it's after 2 years. In India it has to be after 1 year to pursue a major. Many of our students, right? You can. Let's say you have never been, haven't taken mathematics in 11th and 12th, but you can still go on to do a bachelor's degree in math, in your college, because you would have taken certain introductory courses in mathematics that covers what you would have usually done in 11th and 12th, and much more in the first year of the liberal arts university. Right. So there is no prescription for commerce students and art students also. Liberal arts universities tend to be agnostic about what your 11th and 12th, what the subjects that you took in 11th and 12th, except when there are regulatory requirements. Right. UGC may say that, if you want to pursue a bachelor of arts, an honors degree in economics, you need to have 12th standard mathematics.
So, Dr. Santosh, I'll try to now, sharpen the question. Let us not get to the eligibility part of it.
Yeah.
If someone is interested in commerce,
Yeah,
or arts, or sciences, or
yeah,
mathematics, what are the liberal arts
yeah,
courses?
yeah. So if you're interested in commerce, let's say I'm giving an example of business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So business can't be done without understanding society per se.
Yeah.
It's not just about accounts or balancing the books and and trying to market them. If you're going to market a product, you better know the psychology of the consumer. You better know what the society, how society looks, how that particular community looks at the products that you're trying to sell. Right, there are various elements that come into it, which is not usually covered in a business curriculum. So if you go for a bachelor's of commerce program in a conventional university, so the other aspects of the what is treated as ancillary there, but which is primary, is that who is your consumer, right? Who is your client? Do you know anything and everything about your client? That those things are not covered there. So when let's say in a liberal arts curriculum, in a liberal arts university, if you were to pursue business, that's a commerce student, let's say, then you will be doing courses in sociology, you will be doing courses in psychology. There will be a lot, and many of these disciplines that you take will be highly interdisciplinary. Like you may be doing marketing, but then you will be making connections with the psychology course, the consumer behavior course that you took as part of the psychology curriculum, right? The social science curriculum. And then, so if you are studying technology, there will be requirements on, natural sciences and technology aspect. You will be making connections there. A lot of our students do calculus and go, at the undergrad level, at the introductory level, but may not use calculus later on. I'm just giving an example. They may be literary and cultural studies. They may study literature later on. But they'll be much better they'll have a much better appreciation of the hard sciences than somebody who has never done calculus in their lives. They'll understand, what mathematics entails, what is scientific reasoning all about, for instance. Why should a literature student be denied the knowledge of what scientific reasoning entails just because he's a literature student, right? You'll be in a much better position to understand all aspects of world functioning if you're a liberal arts student than anybody else.
So, Dr. Kamdar, just to add to what Santosh is saying, or rather, have a supplementary question. The BPA courses that you have, the BA, the BSc courses that you have,
Right.
How do you, drill them down for a student?
Right. So, first of all, I think your question, I think the pointed question would be, if I'm a commerce student, what are the majors in BBA?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What are the majors in BA do we have? Correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So we do have 4 different majors in BBA. So we multiple majors, I mean. So you can major in marketing, you can major in HR, you can major in entrepreneurship, you can major in finance, you can major in operations.
Okay.
Right? So those options are available.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I'm saying, we need to clarify what liberal education is, right? The word arts is a misnomer.
Yeah,
correct? So you can come to a liberal arts university and still take commerce subjects.
Yeah. No, sir, I want to direct you to the kind of nomenclature that the student is used to.
Right.
And the student is used to a certain kind of nomenclature.
Yes.
And I don't want to expand that at this point in time. The limited purpose of this is he understands certain nomenclature, and everything that we say must fit into that nomenclature and still explain it to him.
Right. So I will just go on, and we do have a BBA communications major as well. So if you take courses in digital marketing, advertising, branding, film and TV, we provide you a BBA in communication, right? We have courses in computer science. We'll be offering it from next year. applied mathematics, then we'll provide you a BSc.
Okay.
Right? So BA, pure, the range of humanities and social sciences courses that we offer, including, and there's a list there in the internet, but courses like economics, you can major.
Yeah.
Right?
Broadly understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Broadly understand that.
So bottom line, Mahesh, is you come to a liberal arts college, you take your foundation, there's a transferable skills, then from the plethora of 20 options from commerce, correct. So depending on your major, we'll provide you the degree. So if you major in econs, we'll give you a BA.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. Right. Now, sir, attitudinally, you actually have students who are running towards a BTech or a BE kind of a thing, or a BCA or an MCA and so on and so forth. And attitudinally, what is the kind of student that would prefer a liberal arts university? Because I remember, a couple of years back, I was speaking to another person who's founded a liberal arts university, Ashoka,
right.
And he was telling me, Mahesh, I will never do a professional, thing, a professional. I'll not start a professional course in Ashoka for the simple reason that I don't want to be in this job placement market, right? But having said that, they place so well and you place so well. Right. So, two questions. Attitudinally, what kind of a student prefers a liberal arts university in terms of keeping his options open? And two, how are the placements? Because ultimately, the outcome student is looking for is placement.
Right.
So,
right.
Can you just answer that?
Sure. So I will answer this question, and Santosh, you might just add on. Right. Yeah. First of all, I have a problem with this myopic question on placements. I'll tell you why. I was a student. I used to ask this question myself. All right. Yeah. But now, after getting some wisdom, I think that was a wrong question, because end of the day, when we dive deeper into placements, we always judge the success of a program by the first job you get into. Right. It's like mileage of a car. When you buy a car, you say kitni deti hai, which is an irrelevant question when you're buying a Mercedes Benz, right? So similarly, this whole question about, I will answer, I will give you a specific answer on placements, but I feel, when you think about ROI, and this is, my answer to parents out there, to students out there, when you think, so you ask anybody, ask your parents, your first, so you are young individuals, young mind, your first major and what you will do eventually, what is the correlation, right? And you ask anyone out there, there's zero correlation between मैं क्या करने वाला हूँ और मैं क्या करूँगा, right? So that is something we need to realize. So we are on an explorative journey right now, right? So do not be too hard on yourself when you are thinking about your first job, right? That's number one. Because I have a problem when students and parents always talk about the first job, they backpedal and then they decide what my child will be doing, right? So I want to correct that, in my opinion. So when you're thinking about ROI, think from a 10-year perspective. Think about a 20. Even I'm a CEO coach. Even CEOs today are confused that, what, I'm not getting my calling. I'm not finding my meaning here, right? So it is an exploratory journey. And second data point is, on an average. So I was reading an article on a scientific article on millennials. So forget, the gray head individuals that we both are. But if we think about millennials, they're not going to switch jobs. They're going to switch at least 5 careers in their lifetime, right? Given this disruption today, right? Because what I know tomorrow will not be relevant, right? So I want students to keep this in mind, because they're going to enter the job market in this event of disruption, where things are just going to change all the time. And henceforth, think about, transferable skills with functional expertise. But I'm saying transferable skills are much more important in today's time and age, right? And that should guide your decision making. All right. So your question was with regards to placements.
Yes.
Can you just refine your question again?
So there are two questions. One is, attitudinally, what kind of student prefers not doing a BTech but doing a BSc, right? And two, how is still the placement, and what are the career path, or what is the future for it?
So a student who doesn't want to get constrained by one discipline for the next 4 years of his or her life, right, would want to explore liberal education.
That's what I was looking for, sir. Actually, I wanted you to say that, because it is actually ensuring that a student is not shackled and has the power to decide as they move along.
Yes, absolutely, right. because you ask most of the students who get into any traditional mode of education, there's no moving out beyond
Yeah,
your first
exactly,
year,
exactly.
right? And that's the charm of liberal education. And what is liberal? Your ability to choose, right, after exploration, right? So that answers your first question, right? So if you have have decided that you don't want to do certain courses in specialized disciplines like engineering or medicine, you've decided I don't want some of this, then I would strongly encourage that you experiment before you jump into your calling. And that's what liberal arts provides you, right? Where placements are concerned, right? A lot of students generally ask me this question as well. Parents ask me this question as well: where will my child get placed? And I'm telling you, except for these specialized disciplines like engineering and medicine, I mean, there are plethora of options. I think the whole world is there waiting for you, right? You can get placed in industry, you can get placed in think tanks, you can get placed with NGOs, right? You can be an entrepreneur. I mean, you name me one options that you can get into being a liberal arts major. You can get into HR roles, you can get into supply chain roles, you can get into finance roles, data mining roles, advertising, branding, journalism, and the list can go on, right? So my message to students is, you have plenty of options, and especially in this time and age of disruption, because you have loads of transferable skills and you'll be hot in the market.
Brilliant. This is a question from Anshika Murali, sir. Now we're starting taking the questions from the students.
Sure.
Anshika's question is, how is liberal arts education in India and how is it abroad? Because the perception has been that liberal arts education is slightly better abroad. So can you respond to her? And especially in the context that this year, I think study abroad has taken a huge hit. People are not willing to go out, countries not allowing them. So liberal arts education in India versus abroad.
Well, Santosh, would you want to answer this question given the constraints we have on a 3-year program in India?
Yeah, why not? See, there are very few liberal arts universities in the country. The ones who I can count them on the fingers of my right hand. That means that it's much less than 5, by the way. And it's growing out here. But then the quality of these institutions are pretty high. I would say they're as good as anywhere in the West. And I mean, I'm talking about the West, it is mainly American universities, because liberal arts, as we know it, is not offered anywhere else. It's not part of the education system except outside of, North America, right? That way, it would be, I don't think we lag anywhere behind. One big disadvantage is that, in India, we can't offer 4-year degrees at the undergraduate level. There can't be an integrated degree of 4 years. Whereas a liberal arts curriculum, it's just to add to previous questions, whether, Dr. Dishan Kamdar mentioned that, there is a perception that liberal means easy, right? I would completely differ from this perception, because if you look at liberal arts curriculum, you're not only pursuing a major, let's say you're economics or a business major, you're also doing a lot of other courses that a conventional university doesn't offer. So, only the highly motivated and ones who are highly committed to putting in a lot of hard work come into liberal arts universities, right? So this, one should be, be able to put in that much amount of work with excess work, with more than the normal workload to pursue a liberal arts major. That way, I think, we are very good. But then this 3 versus 4-year thing comes in, where, a liberal arts curriculum, if you were to say it, it requires a minimum of 4 years. And that's the reason why American universities offer only 4-year degrees, right? They don't offer 3-year undergraduate degrees. That leads to a bachelor's of something. And that's very important because, it requires a minimum of 4 years. In India, we have regulatory constraints. But then, that's where the one disadvantage that I see, if you were, with Murli's question about, pursuing liberal arts in India or abroad, that disadvantage is 3 versus 4 years. But then, there is always an option to do an add-on year. Many of our liberal arts universities in the country have this +1 year where you can stay back for the 4th year and continue your program, and then get a 4 years, 16 years experience. Right, the 4th year is usually a research year where you are working on a year-long project. Other than that, I would say, I think, the couple of universities in the country have done extremely well. Their education is at par with what you would get in the US.
I would add my 2 bit here. Except for the 3 versus 4 years, the ethos of a liberal arts education remains constant, whether you pursue it in India or whether you pursue it in US or whichever parts of the world. And the ethos basically revolves around the ability for you to explore from various other disciplines while you pursue your major, number 1. So which is basically multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary education, number 1. Number 2, lowest faculty student ratio, small classes, so that the teachings are much more intimate, right? So typically in a liberal arts college, whether in US or in India, the class sizes are small. Every faculty will know the student by their name. So this facilitates a lot of in-class, outside class discussion, which leads to, very high levels of mentorship, right? We talked about people switching jobs, switching careers. And one of the reasons is because they did not receive the kind of mentorship they receive in the undergrad program, right? So the second ethos of a liberal arts program is very, very strong structured academic and career level counseling that you get from your teachers, right? And your peer group and your alumni, right? So that ethos remains the same, either you pursue it there or here. This whole notion of giving back to society, understand, so civic service, for example, understand environmental issues, right? Understanding the world around us in your curriculum, that remains the same, right? So the only difference is we crash everything in a 3-year out here. Yeah, and over there, it is spread out across 4 years.
This is a question from Zaiba Afreen. Zaiba asks, what is the scope of BA in history, economics, and political science in terms of its pathway and the future?
Well, so BA in a liberal arts setting or BA from the traditional, the traditional offering perspective. I think the answer rests in what kind of BA are you taking, right? So if you're taking a BA in a liberal arts context, so let's say you're pursuing a BA in history, right? So if you are doing a traditional plain vanilla history in a non-liberal arts setting, you'll be just diving deep into history all your years without understanding, without having a broad-based understanding of other disciplines, right? But like I said, just a few minutes ago, if you pursue a BA in history in a liberal arts setting, for example, you'll develop deep understanding of history, obviously, but at the same time, right, you will have adopted all the other transferable skills. So you'll be a history major who is creative. Why? Because you have taken, subjects in humanities as well, right? You'll be a history major, who would be able to solve complex problems. You'll be a history major who will be a great communicator, right? So that's the difference, right? If you ask me, and henceforth, it has implications in the job market and job options.
Sir, Dr. Kamdar, because of the COVID-19 that is happening, there is a perception that health sciences are about to, there'll be a lot more investments and career prospects in health sciences. And there is also a similar perception because of the way we possibly are going to change the way we live. The humanity side of it also will have some kind of a leg up. So in this COVID-19, post-COVID-19 scenario, where do you see liberal arts courses and its future?
I think that's a very good question. With problems and challenges comes opportunities as well, right? Like I had mentioned, everything goes through a cycle. We had an IT boom, engineering, right? Then we had, this whole facade of business schools mushrooming. And then now, given that we are going through a disruption, a world which is filled with disruption, there is an increasing focus on, as I mentioned, transferable skills. Now, COVID-19 has taken all of us by surprise, right? And I'm sure that, every industry is going to step back, rethink the way they operate, and I'm sure new innovative practices will evolve. Health sciences definitely, would be in higher demand. That's my view, at least, because everyone has understood the importance of health sciences given this pandemic here. So I'm sure when every liberal arts institution is going back to the board, thinking about the future, where the demand is, right? While the demand in humanities will continue to grow and social sciences continue to grow, I'm of the belief that health sciences is going to be, the new kid on the block, definitely, right? But to offer health sciences courses, pure sciences courses, we have to ensure that we need to have the right infrastructure, right? So, I would advise liberal arts colleges not to offer these courses just because it's a fad. You don't play around with students' life. If you want to offer something, you make sure you have the infrastructure to deliver. Otherwise, you outsource it.
This is a question from Himachali Spark. She's done BSc Physics and is preparing for MSc. After that, she's also learning Japanese, Russian, and a few other languages. What do you advise her? After BSc, does she prepare for MSc and does these languages? Is there any pathway in liberal arts which you would advise for her?
Santosh?
Her name is Himachali Spark, by the way.
So, it depends on what her career choices are, right? The fact that she is learning languages means that, she wants to be a global citizen and wants to be at home and working with the people who come from these languages or speak these languages, right? I would say, depending on, master's degree, at least in an MSc degree, is about super specialization. She should be very clear that she wants to pursue that area for, in the future too. A master's is just not enough, mainly in the sciences anymore. It may be enough in engineering, but not in the sciences, because it has to lead to a PhD, because many of these are research-oriented careers. Even health sciences, that question that you asked, right? Research comes in only master's and postmaster's level. You can't be a researcher at that level. So if she's pursuing languages, I would say, that she's looking at a career that involves the use of these languages. I don't see a master's, MSc coming in anywhere, except if she wants to do some translation work, there are a lot of companies which are operating, which do translation work, career that are there. Papers that are written in Japanese have to be translated into English. The Chinese are not that good at writing in English, right? So these languages may come in handy as far as these things are concerned. But I don't see masters and the languages going, gelling well together unless she's doing something, translating research papers also, at least in that.
And I would also add, right, a piece of advice to all students, right? Don't be, fixated about what you want to do in a master's right now. Take one bit at a go. Because end of the day, you complete your bachelor's and then probably, you'll work for a couple of years before you decide on your master's. And as you work, you develop networks, a lot of new opportunities will emerge, and then evaluate your calling at that time, right? Do not, just think about what I'm going to do in my master's program, backpedal, what I'm going to do right now. I would rather reverse the entire pyramid of choices. I would say, this is my calling right now. I'm loving physics. I want to make a difference out there. Enjoy, passionately take these subjects up, right? Work for a few years. Do not directly go for a master's, please. That's my plea, right? Unless you want to get into a research stream, right? Then evaluate at that time, because the world is going to change at that time. So what you want to do, right? Please be flexible. The more flexible you are, the more open-minded you are, the better decisions you will make for your life and your career.
in joke, academics, sir, I've seen a program on performing arts, right? How does it tie in with any of the courses that you offer? How does a student who may be interested in performing arts, take that course, and how does it tie in with a course that you offer otherwise?
Sure, sure. So amongst our offerings of major and minor, right, we do have, music, dance, drama and design as minor offerings at Flame University. So a student at Flame can pursue two focus area at a time. That is your major and your minor, right? So if you are deeply interested in this area, you can pursue this as a minor while you are pursuing your major in either psychology, sociology, or whatever you've chosen, economics, whatever it is, right? But at the same time, if you don't want to pursue this as your minor, but you want to take some courses in dance, drama, theater, music, you can still do that while you pursue your major or minor in other areas. So the offerings are there for students, and that's the charm of liberal education. While you pursue your two central tenets, which is your major and minor, you at the same time are taking many subjects from other disciplines, and that's what we want you to do, right? And different students will have different calling, right? So the number of courses that you take from fine and performing arts is based on how interested you are. And if you're very interested, you'll take many more courses. You declare that as your minor. And you are interested but not very interested, you'll take some subjects, but you will not declare that as your minor.
There's another thing that keeps coming back, sir, and a lot of students who wanted to pursue study outside of India, and somewhere along the line this year seems to be a problem, I have asked. And that is where the twinning programs and dual degree programs come in, right? Do you advise a student who actually wanted to study outside of India to go through a dual degree or a twinning program so that they're here for the next 2 years while things stabilize and then they can think of what next?
Well, I think that very much is a function of the choices you make and what you are passionate about. I think you should start by asking why. Why do I want to do this? Are you afraid that you will not be able to get those seats later on, right? I think very much a lot of these decisions come from a level of insecurity we have and a lack of self-confidence that we have about ourselves. So you take this dual degree, this tuning program, so that you can pursue your education here and at the same time lock your seat, right, in a long run with institutions abroad. But then you are making a commitment for 5 years now, right? Do you want to make that commitment, or you want to keep your options open? I think it's a personal choice that you have to make, right? But my advice to my students would be to be given the disruptive world we are living in, right? Take one thing at a time, right? And again, it's just my own personal opinion, right? Take a program out here, complete your bachelor's, and then you decide what you want to do, rather than committing yourself to 5 years right now.
But even Flame offers something which is a study abroad program, right? Where you study for a part of the year curriculum in Flame, and then have the exit degree from the other side. The
Right.
study abroad program that you have.
We do. Santosh, would you want to just tell us more about this program?
Yeah, so study abroad is a program that's available to all our students to spend a semester abroad, right? We want our students to be global citizens, and it helps a lot in operating from a different culture and in a different country too. So that's available, but that's not a sandwich. It doesn't lead to a degree. Those credits the courses that they do out there are transferred back to the Flame and then counted towards their major or minor. So it's part of the curriculum. It becomes part of the curriculum because they can go to, if they're pursuing, let's say, finance major, they can go to particular institutions, only a particular institutions where those courses are offered. It's not so because this study abroad for us is seen as a semester in a foreign country, but you're still pursuing the same courses that you would have done in the home institution. That's Flame. So that's available, but we don't have joint degrees. We don't offer twinning programs.
Dr.
And
Kamdar,
yeah.
Dr. Kandar, earlier you talked of psychology and sociology, and there's an interesting question coming from Pramod. His question is, what are the opportunities for psychology and sociology in the post-COVID era? Era.
Well, I think opportunities will always exist pre and post COVID era, right? But obviously, mental health issues, for example, will be on the rise. Everybody is anxious. There will be a spate of layoffs. There will be job cuts. So, definitely, mental health issue needs to be addressed. But even pre-COVID-19, if you think about mental health issues among students today, right? Students are very anxious. I realize, right? Compared to, most of us out here when we were students, our outlook of life and how anxious we were with respect to our careers. The level of anxiety that a student is facing today, the pressure that you're putting on yourself today, whenever you're thinking about your career, I see a huge delta difference between how we perceive our careers, how much worried we were versus how much worried our children are, right? So even with how pre-COVID-19, there has been a huge sharp increase, right? In psychology and sociology, especially psychology majors. So if you look at most liberal arts program, the number one major is psychology, even at anywhere, right? So given this spurt of demand, right? But I just want to give an unsolicited advice to all our kids out there, right? Please don't be hard on yourself. Life is short. Don't think more than is required, right? Enjoy life, enjoy every passing day, right? But yes, pursue your psychology and sociology major because there'll be a lot of demand. Absolutely.
This is another question from Beniwal Sahib, sir, and this is something that I also felt always that I'll try to rephrase this question. What is liberal arts? You already answered that. He's asking, I'm a Hindi medium student. Can I do liberal arts? And this is for every language medium student who is in the hinterland but still wants to pursue liberal arts.
That's a very good question. It's a very good question. Majority of our applications. So first of all, the mode of instruction in most schools will be in English, right? So that's something that I want him to know, right? So if he's not proficient enough, he has to take English language course by the side, right? Because the mode of instruction will remain in English. Do we discriminate students? No, right? But do we have many students from Hindi medium applying? Not many. Have we accepted? Yes, right? So I think that's the answer.
This is a question from Suchismita Chanda. Her question is, sir, I'm pursuing my undergrad in Bengali literature, and I want to shift on comparative literature in MA. Now, I don't know both of them, honestly, so I leave it to you. Is that a good option? So she's doing Bengali literature, wants to do comparative literature in MA.
I wish my literature professors were with us today. But I will defer this question to Santosh because I'm not very clear myself. Right? Yeah. Santosh, you have some advice?
No, I think I will also skip it. I think Mahesh can get back to.
So Suchishmita, we'll get back to you on this question. I'm sorry, but we need to research a bit on this question, and we will get back to you. That's a promise.
Sure.
Sir, this is another question from Shivani. Her question is about MBA and liberal arts. So, an MBA offered in any other B school, so to say, and these are PGDM institutions, versus an MBA offered in a liberal arts university. Is there a difference between the two?
Yes, there's a difference.
Okay.
Right. So an MBA offered in a liberal arts institution has two differences. At least I can talk about Flame University out here.
Yeah.
Right. We do. So our MBA students will have an opportunity to take a minor with their major, which is pretty rare in the MBA space. Right. So what is liberal arts? We give students options. We make sure that they have two different parallel focus interest areas. Right. So a student. So what are the MBA options? What are the facet specializations we have for the MBA program at liberal arts? It's HR, it's operations, it's finance, it's marketing, it's entrepreneurship. At the same time, digital digital marketing, advertising, branding, and film and TV management, right? So these are 7 different majors that you can opt in your MBA program. But while you major, you can minor in the others as well. So I can major in finance and I can minor in digital marketing, right? So that's the one difference, right? Now the second difference is, we have, for example, 8 terms. In every term, we ensure that you take one subject that is outside management, which is liberal arts focus.
Okay. Okay.
Why is this important? Because we don't want to generate only leaders. We want to generate leaders who are responsible, who can take India forward, who have a sense of the environment, who are ethical, right? And henceforth, mandatory subjects like sociology, languages, public policy, psychology, right? These are mandated and woven into your MBA curriculum. So we develop responsible leaders. So that's the difference.
This is a question from Vishant V. His question is, hi sir, can I do CS major with economics minor?
CS major with economics minor.
Yeah.
Santosh, we will be launching CS next year.
Yeah, so right now the CS major is an honors program. There are UGC constraints on whether an honors program can have a minor at all, but he can definitely do economics courses along with the CS major, but I wouldn't say minor for now till we very clear about the regulatory aspect.
Okay. This is the question.
For instance,
please carry on.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as Flame University is concerned, I think the other liberal arts colleges allow. So.
Okay. This is a question from Ritesh. His question is, he's interested in maths and would want to do a course in liberal arts universities. So, because he doesn't want to do BTech, possibly, the way I understood the question.
Yeah.
So, what are the kind of courses you have? Or the liberal arts universities, I'm saying broadly.
So, I think that, if you're interested in mathematics and especially the sciences, the best places to do sciences, I would say, is a liberal arts university, right? Because you will be exposed to diverse disciplines. Math is just a collection of tools, but where will you be applying those tools, right? We offer applied math major. Our students have done crime modeling to HIV/AIDS epidemic modeling. You name it, problems that the society faces, they are modeled it mathematically. It's very difficult to have this perspective in a hard STEM university. Right? You don't have these kind of people out there who are thinking out of their disciplines. Okay. So, math, if you're thinking of this to the student, if you're thinking of math, just think of a liberal arts university and nowhere else. Okay. You'll be applying it in the sciences, not only in the sciences, the mathematics, but also in the social sciences, in the humanities. Now machine learning and stuff like that, it becomes much more valuable that you have, know where to apply these tools. And many of these programs, math programs in liberal arts universities tend to be very application oriented too, interdisciplinary and application oriented, right? So I think that I would advise strongly a liberal arts university for math.
Okay. This is a question from CM Punk. His question is, what is the difference between pursuing CS in liberal arts colleges versus other universities?
Well, I think, go ahead, Santosh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll answer this. So I'm sure this is a question that's there on many people's minds. Exactly. Why shouldn't I go for a BTech in computer science and engineering, then go for a BSc in computer science from a liberal arts college?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So there are two aspects to it. If you go to an engineering college, you won't know where to apply the tools that you're learning. Okay, so it will be computer science and engineering is what you will be studying. You will be studying both the software aspects of it, algorithms, data structures, and other stuff, right? Along with hardware, you're looking at electronics engineering, how a computer is built, and so on. You're looking at architectural issues. If you're interested on that aspect, if you're looking at the hardware, about how to make a hardware component faster and design chips and so on, an engineering college would be a good fit. But if you are looking at applications of computer science, and this is, I think I say it with a lot of responsibility that, I think computer science is probably the most interdisciplinary major that exists right now. There is no aspect of our life that hasn't been touched by computers, or when we say it has been touched by technology, it has been touched by algorithms per se, and algorithms are what computer scientists study. I'm not talking about computer engineers, but computer scientists study. If you're looking at the applications point of it, how do I make society better, how do I make a better product, right? And not worried about it, not too much interested in the hardware aspect of it, I think you should come to a liberal arts college again, for the simple reason that liberal arts colleges look at computer science from an interdisciplinary sense. They don't emphasize much on the hardware electronics aspect of it, but they do emphasize a lot on applying computer science techniques to solve problems, either in business or society, right? It depends on your.
And I think while we lose Santosh, we've lost him. I would like to add as well, pursuing computer science in a liberal arts situation will also allow you to take, a minor in design as well, for example, or take courses in design, right? Take courses in psychology, because end of the day, what's happening in the tech industries today, right? As the famous Steve Jobs quote, right? You marry technology with humanities. You marry technology with liberal arts, right? Why? Because the sense, the aesthetic sense that a person who has taken subjects in philosophy, in music, in humanities is unparalleled to a person who's only done coding. So there has to be a marriage between. So that's companies these days are hiring designers, are hiring philosophers, are hiring historians, and getting them to work with computer science engineers to develop a tech product, right? But now, if you pursue computer science in a liberal arts setting, you are exposed. You are 2-in-1, right? You have exposure to various subjects in these very important areas. So you will be able to understand the human aesthetics in designing your tech product as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a question from Dolphy Dias. The question is, hi sir, I would want to know what is the scope of performing arts as a minor?
Well, again, when you talk about scope, you're looking at job opportunities, right? I mean, that's what I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Correct. So again, I would like every student to understand this very important, baseline statement I'm making. Follow your passion. Whatever you're passionate about, pursue your passion. There are enough jobs in every discipline, enough jobs that will support every major. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that scope right now. As long as you are good in it, you'll get your job, right? So if you are passionate about, fine arts or performing arts, please go ahead, pursue a minor, right? And if you are good in it, you'll definitely get enough opportunities. So that's why it's very important for you to align your passion with whatever you choose, because then you'll do well.
We will take 3 last questions, sir, because now we've overshot the time quite a bit. In terms of liberal arts, and a lot of students, by the way, I'm rephrasing the question of many students. What are the chances that a liberal arts course would help them get onto civil services or competitive examinations?
Santosh?
I think, Mahesh, if you remember, you asked this question about why liberal arts was not popular earlier and why it has come into prominence recently. No, why not, 50 years ago? But if you have to look at the civil services examinations, right, I think there have been liberal arts since the beginning. If you look at IITians writing civil services, they're not writing civil services in their area of specialization in IIT. If there's a mechanical engineer, he will take political science or sociology to write his civil services. Right. That way, in terms of general studies, the components that civil services has, the liberal arts student is much, much, much better placed to pass these examinations, because you are emphasizing on not only critical thinking as part of the curriculum but also communication. You're also having a broad overview, you got a holistic education that will help you to perform a generalist role that the civil servants are looking, that the civil services examination is trying to test you for, right? So, if that's the case, anybody who is looking at civil services should go through a liberal arts curriculum, I would say. It will save you a lot of post-college preparation in terms of writing in the exam, because you're doing it throughout college as part of your curriculum, right? That I would say, would be a strong plus. Yes. Yeah.
I think there is a technical glitch, I guess.
Yeah, I think my bandwidth connectivity is very bad. So I'm back. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just I had a problem with technology. There's another question that is very interesting that's coming from a student called Yesh, sir. He wants to do liberal arts, but he's unable to convince his parents. That's because obviously this gap between what the parents want and the students want.
Right.
And liberal arts comes with a baggage in a certain sense, right?
Right.
So would you tell him how to tell his parents? His question is, how do I convince my parents that I can do liberal arts?
I am trying to convince my child to pursue liberal arts. I'm having a different problem here.
Okay.
So, so this is from Yash.
Right? Yeah, Yash.
So Yash, I think your parents, probably in the same age group as I am, and we've been through a very, very different era altogether, right? We've been part of the tech boom, and henceforth, the mindset about job success, career success is very much related to our worldview, what we've been socialized with. So henceforth, STEM is the only way for you to be successful in this world without understanding the disruption today. So I think, what first of all, I think generally parents are confused about liberal arts. Tell them it's liberal education, walk them through the syllabi, walk them through, what is offered, talk to them about the BSc, BBA, you can do a computer science, you can do variety of subjects in liberal arts. So chances are the moment they get clarity on what liberal education is, they'll be more receptive. That's the first step. The second step is show them data about career success. There's enough of research in the internet that will tell you that compared to STEM, liberal arts graduates, they start off slightly lower. But when you look at a longitudinal data of 10 years, liberal arts student, this is not what I'm saying, this is research in the internet, liberal arts students make much more than their counterparts in any other areas and are much more employable. And this trend is just going to be increasing. So I believe your parents are fixated about your job prospects, your employability. Please show this data. And if they're not convinced, I'm happy to speak to them as well.
Brilliant, sir. Thank you so much. The last question I have is from Harpreet Kaur. The question is, does liberal arts also have an internship inbuilt into the course curriculum?
That's a very good question. Yes, most liberal arts program based on the pedagogical requirements across the world will have an experiential component, weaved into the program. But at least, I can talk about how we've gone overboard at Flame, right, to ensure that we do justice to a student's learning. We have 3 different immersion programs at Flame University, right? Yes, your answer on internship is our last immersion program, but with that corporate immersion, so end of the first year, every student has to go through a civic engagement program, right? So you join an MBO, you be part of an MBO, NGO, and spend almost 2 months with an NGO, reflect on the work you've done, and submit a report, right? Why are we doing this? This immersion is important so that you develop empathy, right? So you are able to, be a more responsible, empathic leader going forward. Then the second immersion at Flame University is during the mid of the second year. We call it the Discover India program. I would encourage all students to just check this out. It's about a primary and secondary research revolving around, culture and heritage of India. While we have global standards, we want to be relevant to India as well. I won't dive deeper into it, but your third immersion, end of the second year, is a mandatory industry immersion, right? So yes, we do have that.
And what kind of companies come for that industry immersion, sir?
So we have companies from all sectors coming in, right? So either we get students to recommend companies that they would want to join, right? Or choose from the companies that we provide them, right? So we have consulting from every sector, right? Healthcare, pharma, manufacturing, financial services, marketing, digital services. So they are from a variety of consulting, right? So you then choose your options accordingly, and go through your immersion program.
I know I said the last question, but I'll add one more thing because this is a very sharp question. I thought you might be able to help him. This student is into music production, and he was looking at he's into music essentially. What are the kind of courses that a liberal arts college would have with you or anywhere else that might help him pursue his passion?
Santosh, would you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I think, at least I do. The other liberal arts colleges, I don't, remember seeing them offering, applied disciplines per se, especially in these areas. It's only Flame that offers courses in these areas in terms of a music minor and film and television major, right? So we have, extensive studio recording facilities, and so on. Quite a few students have gone into music production. There quite a few have joined. But at the undergraduate level, we don't offer a major in music production. But then music production is, because of all these courses that are there in the film and television area, it is one of the courses that is offered for sure. Both are minors in music take it, and are majors and minors in film and television program also. Okay. So I think it's only among the liberal arts colleges, if my research is right, it's only Flame which offers, a program in communication, right? Which includes, film and television, advertising and branding, and so on, right? So that way.
Yeah, and you know what, he can also leverage the other business courses because he's into production, right? So understanding the business implication, right, of what he would want to do would also add to his learning in a liberal arts setting.
I'll sneak in one more question, sir. I'm sorry about this. This I thought was interesting, and you have a scholars program, so that's where I am sneaking this in. He says, sir, I studied bachelor's in social work, and I'm not able to do MSW. Can you suggest a 1-year diploma course for pursuing job in social sectors?
So Santosh handles our fourth year program. Santosh, this is up your alley.
Yeah, so our 4th year program is meant only for our own students, but so there are a lot of 1-year programs that are there in the country, which have come up in the public policy social welfare space. I would suggest the student to look up, for instance, ISPP in Delhi, which offers, which have lateral entry programs in the public policy space. There are a lot of institutions in Pune and other places which offer 1-year programs, postgraduate diploma programs in government, okay, and in government and politics and so on. Maybe, social welfare is about MSW. MSW is a 3-year program. I'm sure, this is where his question is coming from. He's looking at 1-year programs. New institutions have come up which are doing this. ISPP is something that you should look at.
Yeah, Nishok, I'll also send you a list in the next couple of days. So just give me some time, please. I'll have some researcher work on this. So thank you, Dr. Kamdar and Dr. Santosh. Would you have the last, advice for students who don't want to do the STEM courses and shackle themselves in the BTech space, and how they must go about even charting out their plan and deciding on a university which gives them the space, freedom, and power to decide for themselves as a move?
Well, I think it's a mindset issue, and my advice is very simple. You've seen liberal arts coming up in foray over the past 2-3 years, and the big question is why? Correct? Because the traditional disciplines that you have been thinking about, that you've been influenced to pursue by different influences, right, including family, correct, have, while they're still important, but there is an emerging area of humanities, national education policy, right? If you look at the latest version of the national education policy, humanities and social sciences are given, equal importance as STEM courses now. Why this sudden resurgence is something you need to ask yourself, right? Is because our context is changing right now. So what was relevant in the past may not be relevant today, right? In the past, there was demand for 10 engineers and you had only 3 engineers in the market. Today you have 5 jobs and you have 50 engineers, gunning for the same jobs, right? So, you need to put into contextual variables today's time and age when you decide on your career going forward, right? So what was right in the past, and the advice that you get from people you speak to, especially seniors, are going to give you advice from their own worldview frame, which is not existent today, right? So please speak to intellectuals, please speak to academicians, happy to connect as many students to faculty at Flame University to give you the right advice, because I think going forward, the future is very, we will give you a lot of challenges, we'll give you a lot of opportunities, and you need to develop new skills. And henceforth, the more flexible you are, the better it is for you. The more, the more interdisciplinary courses you take, right, the better you will be, because, you want to be ready not for your first job, but for your nth job.
Yeah.
Right, Santosh, your final advice.
Yeah, I mean, and I would, second that don't look at your first job. Don't look at, first job is instant gratification. Delayed gratification always works. You'll be changing careers a lot. What you study now may become irrelevant tomorrow itself, but you should have the skills to move through life, change careers, change jobs, and so on. And those skills are not being delivered in conventional institutions, unfortunately, whereas the national education policy is emphasizing on precisely these skills that we're talking about, right? Look, think long term, think where you want to be. You'll have to come back to train yourself, every now and then. This is not, the college is not the last time you'll be entering the educational institution. You will have to keep coming back over and over to upskill yourself, right? Think long term and take the right step, right?
Maheshwar, I have one advice for parents, if I may.
Yeah.
Right? I've interacted with so many parents, and the reason why they're confused is because they have a relative definition of my child's success, because they're comparing their child with their neighbor's children, their cousin's children. Usne ye kiya to aap itna success hai, to aapko bhi ye karna chahiye, right? But the moment you adopt an absolute definition of what your child needs to do, right, you'll give them the right advice, because every child has his or her passion. You want your child to be motivated to go to work. It's not about what they do, it's about how they're happy doing what they do. So right, so let them pursue their passion and have an absolute definition whenever you give them the advice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kamdar and Dr. Santosh. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'll keep bothering you because liberal arts is still such an expansive space, but still the understanding of the space is not as much as we would want it to be. So I'll keep bothering you. We should have one more session like this where we take a few more questions from students once the admission cycle starts, so that we'll at least be able to help students moving forward.
And Mahesh, happy to have my discipline chairs in that session, because they are very discipline specific questions that have been raised today. Right. And yes, Santosh and I, we were able to provide the advice, but the pointed advice that a child needs would come from the discipline chairs. And happy to organize one more session with you.
We should do that, sir, at one. Sure. I'll come back to you with the date. Thank you so much, sir.
And good luck to everyone.
Thanks so much, sir.
Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks
so much, sir.